A warm and heartfelt greeting to you. My dear friend, thank you for coming back to this little channel, where each meeting is a chance for us to take care of both body and soul after the age of 60. Here, I always try to bring you gentle but practical tips to help each day pass by with more safety, better health, and deeper fulfillment. Have you ever found yourself walking around the house with no obstacles in your way, no one pushing or crowding you, and yet you still stumbled or lost your balance, or maybe it was just one small misstep, but it made your heart race and left you feeling shaken? If you have ever experienced that, then you are not alone. A study by the National Institute on Aging (NIH) found that up to 99% of older women will experience balance problems at least once in their lifetime. But the surprising part is that the cause is not always due to age alone. In today's video, I will share with you 8 silent habits that quietly but powerfully damage your body's stability. If you recognize these habits early and adjust them properly, they can help you avoid unexpected falls, maintain your confidence, and preserve your independence every day. And I truly believe that the final point in this list will surprise you, because it is something that once caused me to nearly fall, and it completely changed the way I live. So please stay with me until the very end. What you discover today might be the very thing that protects you for the years ahead. So what are the hidden reasons that are silently making millions of older women lose their steadiness with every step they take? 1. Exercising without focusing on balance. I used to think that just walking around the house, doing daily chores, or spending a little time in the garden was enough to keep my body healthy. But then, one afternoon, I joined a community health class at the local center. I only intended to participate in a few gentle stretches for fun, but that class revealed a truth I had never considered before. When the instructor asked everyone to stand on one foot for a few seconds, I wobbled almost immediately. Then we were asked to walk in a straight line, heel to toe, and I felt unsteady, as if I had never walked on my own 2 feet before. I was surprised, but at the same time, I realized that for so many years, I had never trained my body to maintain balance. Over time, our ability to stay balanced does not maintain itself naturally. As we enter our later years, our joints become less flexible, our core muscles grow weaker, our eyes respond more slowly to depth, and even our brain does not coordinate as well as it used to. Those small adjustments that our bodies once made automatically are no longer as responsive as before. But this is not the end. The good news is that balance can still be improved. Whether you are 60, 70, or even 80 years old, I started with the simplest things. Standing on one foot while brushing my teeth, walking in a straight line from the kitchen to the door each morning, or simply shifting my weight from one foot to the other while waiting for water to boil. No gym, no special equipment needed, just a few minutes each day, and the change began to show clearly. After a few weeks, I was no longer afraid of feeling wobbly when standing up. I walked into the garden with confidence. And one morning, I even smiled when I noticed myself gently dancing along to an old song playing in the kitchen. Balance is not just about the body being steady. It is about confidence. It is about the feeling of being in control of your own life. We do not need to wait until we fall to begin training for it again. If you simply start today, with just a few small minutes, you are already rebuilding a strong foundation for your future. 2. Wearing slippers indoors. I used to love simple flat slippers. Just slip them on and go. No fuss, no restrictions. Thin ballet flats or lightweight plastic sandals were once my companions whenever I went to the market, strolled around the garden, or even shopped at the supermarket. I believed they were convenient and comfortable. But then, one day, while walking along a small street near my home, the toe of my slipper caught on a raised brick edge. I stumbled for a moment and almost fell into the bougainvillea fence beside me. That near fall gave me chills, not because I was hurt, but because I began to doubt what I had always believed to be a harmless habit. I realized that those slippers were not helping me stay balanced. They were actually making me lose control with every step I took. Over time, an older person's feet change significantly. Muscles, ligaments, and the fatty padding under the soles lose elasticity. The arches of the feet begin to collapse. Sensitivity in the heels and toes also declines. This means that shoes which once fit well and felt soft may now become a source of instability. Worn-out soles, loose slippers that do not hug the feet, or shoes that do not support the arch, all of these quietly contribute to the risk of falling. I decided to take this time to seriously search for the right pair of shoes, not just to walk in, but to stay safe. And I found them. A lightweight pair of sneakers with non-slip soles, cushioned insoles, a snug fit, and arch support. Since wearing them, I feel completely different. I walk more confidently, stand up more securely, and most importantly, I no longer need to look down at my feet every time I step over a threshold or slippery floor. I also replaced my indoor slippers. I used to wear soft fabric ones, but their soles were slippery and lacked grip. Now, even at home, I wear slippers with rubber non-slip soles, low heels, and a snug fit. They are light, cushioned, and most importantly, safe. If you are reading this and thinking, "Oh, I have been wearing those kinds of slippers for years and nothing has happened," then let me ask you, have you ever wobbled while stepping down a stair? Have you ever nearly slipped when the floor was a bit wet? If so, then maybe it is time to take a closer look at the shoes you are wearing. We always talk about having a strong foundation to live steadily. And you know what? For an older adult, that strong foundation begins with the right pair of shoes on their feet. 3. Pride that refuses a cane. I still remember very clearly saying to my daughter, "I'm still strong. I don't need a cane yet." That sentence did not come from the fact that I didn't feel my legs growing weaker at times, but from pride, from the feeling that if I used a cane, it would mean that I was truly getting old. So I kept holding on to the sofa every time I stood up. I grabbed the edge of the kitchen counter every time I walked across the slippery floor. I leaned against the hallway wall on my way to the bedroom. I didn't call it losing balance. I called it making use of the furniture. But one day, when both of my hands were holding a full basket of laundry, there was nothing I could hold on to. Just one small misstep on the smooth wooden floor. And I stumbled, nearly falling against the corner of the coffee table. I broke into a cold sweat from fear. And what stayed on my mind the most was this thought: if I had to rely on everything around me just to stay balanced, maybe I really needed something more stable to support me. A few days later, I went to a nearby pharmacy and tried holding a light cane with a soft handle and a delicate pink floral pattern. Looking at it, I didn't feel sad. I felt relieved, as if I had finally dared to admit what my body had been gently whispering to me for so long. Since the day I started using a cane, I felt much more steady walking around the house. I no longer have to inch through the kitchen, no longer hold my breath when stepping down the small step at the door. When I go outside, I feel more confident because I know I have support. And strangely, no one looked at me with pity. On the contrary, other older people came to ask where I got the cane, because it was both cute and practical. I realized something important. Using a cane doesn't make me weaker. In fact, it makes me stronger, more independent, and freer. It helps me avoid falls that could keep me bedridden for weeks, months, or worse. And if you are reading this and realize you are leaning against the wall more than before, or just holding on a little, then maybe it is time you consider what I once had to. Sometimes, being strong doesn't mean walking alone. Being strong means knowing when you need support and having the courage to accept it. 4. Not drinking enough water. One afternoon, while I was resting on the sofa, I stood up a bit too quickly to answer the phone. Just as I lifted myself off the seat, I suddenly felt dizzy, and everything went dark for a moment. I quickly grabbed the arm of the sofa and sat back down. At that time, I thought it was just because I was tired or hadn't eaten anything, but those dizzy spells kept happening from time to time afterward, and they started to worry me. Then, I discovered a cause that very few people think about: not drinking enough water. It may sound simple, doesn't it? But the truth is, once we pass the age of 60, our sense of thirst becomes much less clear than it was when we were younger. There were days when I only had 1 cup of tea in the morning, 1 cup of coffee in the afternoon, and a small sip of water when taking medicine. I thought that was enough because I didn't feel thirsty. But in reality, tea and coffee can actually cause the body to lose even more water, and the actual amount of water needed for an older woman like me is not small at all. Even mild dehydration can cause your blood pressure to drop, make you feel dizzy when changing positions, and increase the risk of losing balance when standing or walking. It can also make you feel tired, low in energy, and in my case, unstable. After that near fall, I decided to make a change. I placed a small water bottle next to my favorite chair, another bottle by the bedside, and a glass of water in the kitchen, where I usually stop each morning. I set a small goal, to drink at least 6 to 8 glasses of plain water each day, not counting tea or coffee. I even added a few slices of lemon, cucumber, or a bit of mint to make the water taste more pleasant. This change, though it seemed small, had a big impact. I felt more alert, my body felt lighter, and the dizziness slowly disappeared. I walked more steadily and no longer felt anxious every time I stood up from the sofa. Drinking enough water not only helps maintain balance, but also soothes the joints, improves digestion, and keeps the skin from becoming dry. If you often feel a bit tired in the afternoon, or a little dizzy whenever you change positions, your body might simply be lacking water. Don't wait until you feel thirsty to drink, because by then your body is already crying out too late. Take care of yourself by starting with the simplest thing, a glass of pure, refreshing water. 5. Not checking your vision regularly. Sometime later, after I had gotten used to drinking water regularly each day, I began to feel healthier. But then, one night, when I got up to use the bathroom without turning on the light, I almost fell again. My foot lightly caught the edge of the rug. It wasn't a hard stumble, but just enough to make me lose balance. I had to grab the wall to avoid falling to the floor. The pain in my knee lasted for several days, but what haunted me more was the realization that my eyesight was no longer as sharp as it used to be. We all know that vision weakens with age, but what I didn't expect was how directly it affects our sense of balance. Our eyes do more than just help us see clearly. They help the brain determine position, distance, depth, and direction when we move. When lighting is poor or glasses are outdated, everything inside the house can become a hidden trap. A small step, a shadowy hallway, a slightly raised rug, all of them can cause disorientation in an instant. After that near fall, I went to get my eyes checked immediately. The doctor told me that my prescription had changed 2 years ago, and the glasses I was still using were making my eyes work harder than necessary. I switched to a new pair with an anti-glare coating and better support for low-light vision. I also replaced all my night lights with brighter ones that were not too harsh, and added small plug-in lights in the hallway, bathroom, and by the bed, the places I usually walk through at night. This simple change made a big difference. I no longer felt afraid walking around the house in the evening. I realized that sometimes we don't need a cane or a handrail. Sometimes just seeing more clearly can be a solid step toward staying safe. If you are reading this and thinking your eyes are still fine, so there is no need for an eye exam, I encourage you to think again. Scratched lenses, outdated prescriptions, or poor lighting, all of these are silent enemies of balance. A visit to the eye doctor, a new nightlight, or a brighter bulb in the bathroom could be exactly what saves you from a serious fall. Your eyes are the windows to your soul, but they are also the quiet companions that help every step you take remain steady. Take good care of them. 6. Ignoring the side effects of medication. There are things that happen so quietly that we hardly notice they are stealing our body's stability. For me, it came from a tiny bottle of pills I took every morning, my blood pressure medication. At first, I only felt a little tired when standing up too quickly. Sometimes I felt lightheaded, like I had just woken from a nap. I told myself maybe I didn't sleep well, or perhaps the weather was a bit too warm that day. But then, those sensations started to happen more often. One time, I stood up from the sofa while still holding a glass of water, and suddenly it felt like the whole room tilted just slightly. I managed to sit back down in time, but my heart was racing with worry. I began to question it. One evening, I picked up the bottle and carefully read the tiny lines on the label. And there it was. Plain and clear may cause dizziness, imbalance, or orthostatic hypotension. in that moment. I felt enlightened. The truth is, as we age, our bodies no longer process medications the same way they did when we were younger. Our liver, kidneys, and circulatory system all work more slowly. A dose prescribed to you at age 55 may be completely unsuitable by the time you are 70. On top of that, most older women like us are taking 2 to 5 different medications, maybe supplements, heart medicine, bone support, digestive pills, and a few health boosters. The interactions between these can easily lead to puzzling symptoms like lightheadedness, poor concentration, or even sudden falls. What I learned from this experience is this: listen to your body and don't be afraid to question your medications. I wrote down every single pill I was taking, even my morning vitamin C. I recorded the times when I felt tired, dizzy, or off balance. Then I took that list to my doctor. After just one adjustment to my blood pressure medication dosage, I felt completely different. No more unsteadiness, no more gripping the bed frame every morning. I stood up more naturally and walked more easily. There is something I want to emphasize: just because we are older does not mean we have to accept feeling unstable or out of control. Sometimes. All you need is one honest conversation with your doctor or pharmacist. Do not let hesitation force you to endure silent but dangerous symptoms. Remember, you are the only one living in your body every single day. No one can feel what you feel more clearly than you do. And if something feels off, then chances are you are right. 7. When your home no longer fits your changing body. Home is where we belong, where we know every corner, every floor tile, every familiar edge of the table. But that very familiarity can make us careless, unaware that our bodies no longer react as quickly as they once did. I remember very clearly one morning, carrying a laundry basket from the bedroom. My foot caught on the edge of the rug, the same rug I had stepped over countless times. Just one small mistake, and I fell to the floor. Pain shot through my ankle, and it took nearly 2 weeks before I could walk normally again. That was when I finally looked at my entire living space with new eyes, the eyes of someone who needed absolute safety in every single step. I began to notice all the things I had overlooked: an old rug that slid slightly underfoot, a power cord stretched across the hallway, dim nightlights that made it hard to find my way at night, pots and pans stored in low cabinets that forced me to bend down awkwardly every day. So I started to make changes. I replaced the slippery rugs with ones that had non-slip backing. I installed handrails next to the toilet and inside the shower. I swapped out the weak yellow bulbs for brighter, softer LED lights, and added motion sensor lights along the hallway. I rearranged my kitchen so that everyday items were within easy reach. And you know what? All of these changes cost far less than I had imagined, but they brought me a level of peace of mind I had never felt before. The truth is, most falls among older adults do not happen out on the street. They happen right inside their own homes. But the comforting thing is that we can also make so many small changes inside these homes to keep ourselves safe. Adjusting your living space does not mean you are getting weaker. It means you are strong enough to protect your right to live actively, confidently, and independently, no matter your age. If you ever feel nervous walking down a dark hallway, or a bit unsteady when bending down to get something, do not wait. Start with just one spot. Maybe change a nightlight or get rid of a slippery rug, and little by little, you will be turning your home into a safer place for yourself and your loved ones. 8. Underestimating muscle strength. When muscles weaken, stability slips away. I used to think I was still strong, every day. I cooked meals with my own hands, swept the floor, watered the plants. I walked slowly around the neighborhood each afternoon, and sometimes even helped my daughter take care of the grandchildren. So when I heard people talk about muscle training after age 60, I shook my head right away. I didn't need to lift weights or do anything extreme like young people anymore, right? But then, one afternoon, while sitting on a low chair in the living room, I tried to stand up without holding on to anything. I wobbled for a few seconds. My knees trembled, and in the end, I had to push myself up using both hands on the armrest. That feeling startled me, not because I had gained weight, not because the floor was slippery, but simply because my legs were no longer strong enough. Over time, Our bodies gradually lose muscle mass, a process called sarcopenia. Starting as early as age 50, muscles begin to shrink year by year. Especially in the legs, hips, and lower back. Every time you stand up, climb stairs, or turn to regain balance, you are using your muscles. And when they are weak, your ability to react when slipping or stumbling is nearly gone. I started reading and decided to try training again. No gym, no personal trainer, just a pair of light hand weights placed next to the sofa. I did simple arm lifts while watching television. I practiced standing up and sitting down without using my hands. Each morning, I lifted one leg for a few seconds while lightly touching the wall for support. Just a few minutes a day, consistently and gently. After a few weeks, I noticed something wonderful. I could stand up more easily. I climbed stairs without losing my breath. Carrying shopping bags didn't tire my arms anymore. But most importantly, I no longer felt unsteady every time I changed positions or walked across uneven ground. And I realized that muscle strength not only protects me from falling, but also gives me control over my own life. A strong body brings a steady mind. When I felt in control of my legs, I had the confidence to go outside, visit friends, and carry my own basket to the market without needing to call for help. If you are feeling that your legs are weaker, or it's getting harder to stand up, please don't wait any longer. You don't need to become a gym person, just a little each day, consistently. And remember this, your muscles are the quiet friends that help keep you standing tall. Do not let them fade away in silence. Looking back on everything I have been through, from that first near fall in the kitchen to now walking steadily on the front porch, I have come to understand that balance is not just a physical matter. It is the way we keep life from wobbling amid the changes of aging. It is the feeling of being in control of our own bodies, of every step we take, every breath we draw, every time we sit down or stand up. These 8 seemingly small habits, skipping balance training, wearing improper footwear, taking medication without checking the side effects, not drinking enough water, having poor vision, neglecting muscle strength, refusing a cane, and living in a risky home environment, have quietly taken away the stability of millions of older women, and I used to be one of them. But when I started making changes, one by one, little by little, I found myself stepping back into life with a confidence I thought I had lost. I am sharing this story not to scare you, but to help you see yourself in it, to let you know that you are not alone, that the feelings of unsteadiness, insecurity, or those sudden missteps are not simply because you're getting old, but perhaps because you haven't yet been given the right knowledge or the right solutions. You can begin anywhere, by replacing slippery slippers with sturdy shoes, by keeping a glass of water on your desk, by standing on one foot each morning while brushing your teeth, by bravely asking your doctor about the side effects of your medications, or simply by turning on a brighter nightlight each evening. Remember, maintaining balance is not an attempt to cling to youth. It is a conscious choice to live more steadily, more fully, at an age where you have weathered many storms and now deserve to live with safety, freedom, and peace of mind. If you have ever feared falling, hesitated at the edge of a step, or silently wondered, "What if I fall?" then please, do not ignore what you have just read. Start today. One small habit may be the very thing that protects your independence and dignity in the years to come. Your body has carried you through so many days. Now, you deserve for it to